Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
Incarceration, America's rock, metal, and tattoo festival returns this summer with Limp Bizkit, Disturbed, Bad Omens, plus Gojira, Papa Roach, A Day to Remember, Motionless in White, Ice Nine Kills, Cypress Hill, The Used, and so many more. Incarceration at the Ohio State Reformatory, July 17th to 19th. Passes on sale now at incarceration.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and I am talking to the fashion plate himself because I'm really digging his shirt, Mr. Dan Fisher. What's going on, man? How you doing?
It's going well, very well.
Nice. Excited to get into conversation here and get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
Usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to go like way back. So do you remember what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
Originally, probably something to do with the sciences, actually. And I was on that path for a while. Was going to be an engineer until I dropped out and started pursuing art in its many forms. Yeah.
Nice. And then when did like kind of music catch your ear, or who was like some of the earliest influences growing up?
I mean, I was born in London, so I like to think my parents had pretty good taste, you know, driving around in the car, always listening to the Beatles. I remember the White Album very vividly from when I was a kid, and that, I don't know, maybe instilled some kind of love of melodies at a very young age. But when it came to actually playing music, I was a late bloomer for sure. You know, I only picked up a guitar when I was 13, 14, which is pretty late compared to some, you know, other musicians. I had piano when I was a kid, and I think I played the cello here and there, but it was just really something that I was told to do, not something that, you know, was my passion. But I started seriously kind of getting into guitar and going down that rabbit hole, you know, early teens, basically. Yeah.
Nice. And who was one of your influences on guitar?
It's funny. It was probably actually my cousin. He's a couple years older than me. I think he's like 30 now. Yeah, he just turned 30. Shout out Liam. And he was always the musician, you know, in the family. He's basically my brother. And he would play folk songs, a lot of Bob Dylan, and write his own songs. And man, I just thought he was the coolest guy. You know, he would go up on stage. I would go to open mics for him, or he would be playing on stage, whatever. And I just remember being like, man, I want to do that. You know, it was kind of like an older brother admiration thing. A little bit of competitiveness as well, for sure. So that's, I would say that was what birthed the interest. And I was a big skater when I was a kid, or young man or whatever. And I got hit by a car like really, really badly. There was like a me-shaped imprint on the hood of the car, you know, almost like Looney Tunes style or something. And my board got completely crushed, and you know, my back was all messed up. So after that, I was looking for a new hobby, and music kind of just fell into my lap. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned it. It took a car crash for you to. I mean, I think the first time I skinned my knee, like not landing correctly on a quarter pipe, I was over it.
Yeah, I never even got to the quarter pipe stage, man. Never even got there. I've been on a board a few times since there, and it's comical how much I just fall on my face, you know. But I have this now, so this is this is my skateboarding now. Yeah.
And then when you decided to start actually playing out yourself, were you still in London, or did that happen back here?
No, I mean, I'm sure you noticed I don't really have an accent. So my family, I grew up in London till I was like maybe 7 or 8. I don't really remember. It kind of all blurs together back then. But moved over to the States, to New York around that time. And it's actually kind of interesting. I did have a British accent, but there's a developmental stage in the brain between the ages of something like 6 and 8, somewhere in there, where accents isn't actually solidified yet. So I came over here and trying to fit in with the kids, just trying to fit in, just completely lost my accent. So when I started playing, to answer your question, when I started playing, it was probably much later. I would say my first band was senior year of high school. Can't remember the name, but probably senior year of high school. And then from there in college, I had a synth bass band with a bunch of my friends that lasted pretty much 4 years, actually. And since then, kind of that was my introduction to production. And yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, first, when you started playing out with your friends, what was the scene like where you were growing up at?
Trying to remember. I would say what scene? There wasn't a scene. It was just some high school kids playing in the local park for just parents, pretty much, or playing in our garage, playing in a friend's attic, listening to records, which is something we did. Yeah, there wasn't a scene. No, I don't think anybody notable in the music scene has come out from the town that I grew up in yet.
And then when you mentioned, getting into producing, what kind of inspired or led to that?
The first thing that led to it was I got really into the idea of analog recording, I think freshman year of college. So I bought myself a little cassette recorder. I think it was called the Tascam Porta Studio 414 or something like that. So you would record it directly on a cassette. You would have 4 channels. You could record all on the 4 channels and then move some of the channels over to one channel. And it's kind of like how it was done back in the day on reel-to-reel tape machines, but a much more compact form. And I got really into kind of just writing and recording my own stuff. And I didn't have the knowledge of how to use the computer to record anything at that point. And it bothered my roommate so much. I had cables all over the floor. I had one microphone and a guitar, and then this little shitty thing. And somehow I had a dozen cables, even though I only had 2 inputs. And it bothered my roommate so much that he actually moved out of the room. Sorry, Colin. But and then I had the room to myself for freshman year. So I kind of just set it up as a little recording studio and recorded, I would say an album. I don't even remember what it's called, but it was really, really terrible. By at least my current standards. That was the introduction. And then also in college, I joined the radio station. It's a local, it's called WMFO 95.1. Hope I'm not butchering that. In Medford, Massachusetts. And they had a little recording studio there called Studio B, I think. It was a community-run radio station, so they would have elections and stuff like that. And I went up and made up some. I didn't make it up, but I actually grew up in London with the Jaggers, and hung around them and their family quite a lot. You know, one of his sons was my best friend at the time, so I grew up around that. I would visit him in New York, and you know, even one time we went to Germano Studios and like laid down a track, and you know, Mick came in and did some backup vocals. So
Nice.
I think I said that in the election meeting or whatever, and people found that impressive for whatever reason, even though I had zero experience. And then I became the director of the recording studio for the next few years, and from there, me and my co-director Benny, who's also in the band with me, would you know, just taught ourselves the basics of recording, analog, signal chain, stuff like that. I never really even considered it to be what I wanted to do, you know. This studio right now, we're in my studio in rainy Williamsburg, and it never really occurred to me that I wanted to do it professionally until after I graduated. And I signed up for an internship at this place and worked my way up, and now I have my own room, you know. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I saw that, you know, you played for Sid Simons at one point. How did that come together for you?
I knew Sid, you know, just through the scene, through the music scene in New York, and I always looked up to him. I always thought his music was amazing, and he was a great performer. And he at some point came in to record with me. He was recording, I think it was his last EP, Last American Valentine, and we tracked some drums and bass and a bunch of stuff here, you know. So we started talking. We always knew each other vaguely, but like weren't really friends, you know. And after the recording, started talking, kept in touch, and he said he texted me and he was like, you know, I'm trying to put some tours together. Let me know if you have any recommendations for a bassist, because I need to find a bassist. And you know, I had a couple of beers by that point, so I was like, screw it. You know, I was like, I'll recommend myself, you know. And he's like, cool. Sent me a few songs, learned them the next day, did a little audition, and then the rest was history. We're actually roommates now. We still live together and still good friends. I just left the project to have time for my own thing, you know.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask too, like when I mean, obviously you've always been Dan Fisher, but now is this the first time you're performing under your own name?
Yeah. I had a bunch of different band names in the past. There was Omelas, which was, I think, the first iteration when I moved to Brooklyn, and then that band kind of dissolved. And then more recently, it was Vera Strange, which I still play some music under that name. But the process of writing this stuff, it's kind of how I've always done it, in the style of Kevin Parker, you know, a la Tame Impala. I write and play everything myself, besides drums. I can't play drums, so I do have a drummer for that, but we work through the parts together. So it is, in essence, a solo project. You know, everything you hear on the recording, it's all played by me, sans drums. So I kind of just decided to stop hiding behind a name, you know, or hiding behind making it seem like it was bigger than myself, because it's personal music to me, you know. So this is the first time that I'm actually just using my name. I wanted to be brave and put myself out there in a more vulnerable capacity, you know.
And talking about it being personal to you, you mind sharing the story behind your latest single, Little Falls?
Yeah. It's kind of a dark one, but it's Little Falls is a town in Minnesota, which my grandpa Gordon Fisher, who has passed sadly, passed away quite a few years ago now. He grew up there, and he had a pretty rough upbringing. His dad, I believe it goes that his dad was one of those traveling salesman types that went for milk and cigarettes and never came back, kind of thing, you know. And his mom had some pretty serious mental health issues. Trigger warning, I don't know what the etiquette is, but she ended up killing herself in a pretty nasty way. So that he was raised by his grandparents after that. Really rough upbringing for him. It led him down a pretty dark path. He was in World War II as a medic, went to Japan or around there and saw some pretty messed up things, and basically became, like he drowned his sorrows because he had a really, really rough upbringing. And that was something that he used to self-medicate himself, really, he was an alcoholic for I don't know how long. He stopped, I think, when he met my grandmother. She, said, "Gordon, if you don't clean your act up, I'm out of here." And he never touched a drink since. Strong guy, very, very strong, very intelligent guy. But it always goes that like alcoholism and addictions run in the family. There is a certain kind of genetic component to that. And after he died, and then my aunt died, and my grandmother died, and even like a childhood friend died. This was all when I was in college. It seemed like it was in the span of a year or something. It was really, really tough on my family. My mom lost her entire family, and it really, really weighed heavily on us. And I was also going through heartbreak at the time. So I started kind of relying on, alcohol in kind of a similar way. And it's had its ups and downs through the years. But the song is about patterns, toxic, perhaps genetic, generational things that you inherit, that you try, you're trying your best to get out of it. And you get a certain, you're going good, and then you fall down again, and then you pick yourself back up, and you go. So it's all these little falls, is like little failures almost. And it's a song about that, and kind of asking myself why I do these things. Every time I try to break it up, I fall down. But then it's also kind of sexy. It's for the listener, it could be anything, it could be, why are you going back to this toxic relationship? Why are you going back to, this guy who's bad for you? Why are you, going back to, I don't know, junk food? It could be anything for anybody. But the song is almost an attempt at exorcising that, exorcising that feeling, because art can be cathartic, art can be therapeutic, and I think it can also be the catalyst for healing if you use it correctly.
Yeah, I agree. That I really connected with that too. It's like generational trauma, generational. They'll say like sometimes the generational curse or whatever that gets passed on through us. And I mean, from what I've read, if it was in Grandpa's DNA, all that trauma he dealt with, he passed it to your dad, who's then passed. If you believe in any of that type of stuff, and it's like usually, like for myself, like my dad was in World War II, and I know he experienced a lot of stuff, and there was things that were passed to me, and I've been doing my best to be the person that breaks the chain. I was just on the phone with my sponsor before I jumped onto this interview with you, because I'm in recovery. I got like 17 years now sober, and
Man, that's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that what it's meant is just like, I gotta like live life on life's terms, and the good news is you start to feel again. The bad news is you start to feel again.
Yeah, that's also part of my journey. I would say you can't count on the things to numb you, or you can't expect to fix the problems that are going on within you by using something which numbs those feelings. And as an artist, as a musician, at a certain point, I was like, God damn, I really owe it to myself to stop this, to stop this cycle, and know thyself. That's all we can do in this life. Yeah. If you don't know that, you don't know nothing.
Exactly. And this is like funny because like even at 53, I'm still discovering who the heck I am.
It's a joy every day.
Yeah. And then tell me about your single Anasia.
Anasia.
Anasia? Okay. Yeah.
It's a weird name. I do my songwriting process a lot of times comes from dreams. Like when I dream full songs in my head, and sometimes I get lucky enough to remember, just a snippet of a melody or a line, a lyric from that song. I try not to question too much what it means, but if my subconscious is doing the heavy lifting, I'll figure out the meaning later. So the name Anasia came in a dream, and I think at the time I was like rereading the tale of Orpheus or something like that, like some Greek mythology thing, and I was like, what if Anasia, because it's just this like weird name, was like an oracle, and the character who's singing the song is somebody who's trying to gain audience with this oracle. But basically this guy who's the protagonist of the song or whatever is not even important enough to get an audience with this oracle. Like the doors are just shut. And he has questions about his future and wants to know what his purpose is, and just completely shut out from the answers. So that is what the story of the song is. I'm not even sure if that's how I feel, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely layers to it. I think everybody can interpret it their own way. I thought it was a good first release just because it's kind of fun and dancey. It definitely calls back to some of my earlier influences, like LCD Sound System. Definitely has that kind of aesthetic to it, but with a harder rock sensibility, which is more the direction I'm moving in now for the EP.
And I like hearing about like the how it came to you in a dream. It's just like kind of like you're getting that artistic download.
Yeah, totally.
And just like, okay, what do I need to do with this? Like it's funny like how our subconscious mind, like it can write different stories for you, like me being a guy in recovery, my story that it wrote for me was mostly negative. And it's like, as I've been on my journey learning to rewrite the script, rewrite the story. What
have your dreams changed the more you rewrite the story?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I didn't really pay too much attention to that because I'm just happy sometimes that I get to dream, because then I know I had some deep sleep,
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
One of those things where it's just like, sleep's been, I'm retired military, and sleep is something I look forward to. And I remember when I first got back from my last deployment, I would have some nightmares or some bad dreams. But once in a while I'd have some really good dreams, and they wanted to throw me on this medication that I guess could cut off dreaming or something. Yeah, exactly. It's like maybe if I was in Nightmare on Elm Street or something, I would have considered it. But I told them, I was like, no, because then I go, it will take my good dreams away too, right? And they're like, yeah, well, sometimes sometimes the good dreams are the best life I'm living right now. It's keeping me going. So, yeah.
I think dreams are important, and it's funny you said about the download thing, and even before I did music, well, not before I did music, but like through the various art forms that I've practiced in the past, I painted quite a lot. I did a lot of painting for a few years, not so much anymore. Was also an animator for quite a few years. And I believe that I've always kind of said this, that the download, that artistic download that you're talking about, now it applies to songwriting, but I often say that, like, I don't write these songs. This isn't me writing these songs. If you can achieve that kind of flow state, the song writes itself. And it's something that you'll hear a lot of artists in any medium tell you. Just downloading the creative spirit, from, you could call it whatever, source, that's sort of what I call it. And I'm a believer that if I don't write that song, somebody else is going to write that exact same song, because that song exists. Any song that I write, it existed before I wrote it. It's just me. It's just up to me to put it into sound. But it's not me writing it. I kind of joke, like, how'd you write that song? I'm like, I don't know. I blacked out, and then when I woke up, it was written. There's some of these things are super fast. Like, takes a day or two. Even with all the layers, blackout, like figuratively, not literally. But that's a big thing. And sometimes you're more connected to it than others. Sometimes the song will just come to you, and it's like the best shit you've ever written. And then other times you have to, like, really, really wrestle with a track for months and months and months, and you're fighting with it, and it's fighting you back, and you have to, like, wrestle this tiger kind of thing. It's interesting.
So tell me how Cricket King came into existence then.
Cricket King. Which one is that? Oh yeah. Cricket King came into, I'm not sure if that one actually came from a dream. Not all of them. They can't all come from dreams, if you only dream half the time. That one came from, I just sort of started writing this kind of Doors-esque inspired, bass line, just drums, bass. I usually start with the rhythm for any given track, because how do you expect a song to move you if you ain't moving? If so, as long as the rhythm section is tight, I think that's pretty important. The lyric, and then just like you hear little words here and there. It's an exercise of throwing a bunch of words up in the air and seeing what lands, and you start to piece these words together, start to form sentences, still trying to use that subconscious a lot. And then you get a couple of lines down, and then you sit back and you think, now what does that mean? Those are the kind of songs where it's like the song became what it wanted to be. And it was just, I kind of had to sit back and listen and think and be like, okay, there's a theme emerging here. And the theme was this guy, Cricket King, the big bad, in this fictional kind of futuristic reality or something, techno fascist future. The Cricket King is, employing mass surveillance on everybody, and it's kind of it's a little bit of like a revolutionary song, fiction, but you could say it's based in reality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say
yeah.
so.
Yeah, definitely. All the best fiction is based in reality. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then we talked about it a little bit before we came on the air, and I seen that there was like a collaboration with the release of Valentine and Goldmine magazine, and that was released. How did that come together? And you want to share a little bit about the inspiration with Valentine?
Yeah. Well, how that came together was Maria, who put this together. Maria, Adrenaline PR, shout out. She's amazing, family friend of mine, and helps me out, with just sending it out to the right people. And we got really lucky. Goldmine magazine is amazing. I've been following them for a while, so I felt really, really humbled and fortunate to get that put out there. There's more stuff coming in music magazines, some pretty notable stuff, but I don't think I'm allowed to say what it is yet. But keep an eye out for that. What was the next question?
What was the inspiration for Valentine?
Behind
that song? Because it wasn't a romance one. You corrected me on that.
Yeah. This one gets a little trickier because I'm still not really even sure I know what it means. I sometimes find out the meaning of songs many months after I write them. You could say it's just a love song. It's a love song, and it's sometimes the lyrics don't really mean that much. It's more about the writing and the structure of the song, and the instrumentations, and the meaning, or the feeling, the groove that you get just from the music. Sometimes words are just there to be there. Not everything has to mean everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then the EP for these the Domino Accords. Curious about the meaning behind that title.
Came from a dream. It's like my answer for everything. I don't know. I kind of want to keep it a little vague, but the domino accords. What's another word for that? Or translation for that? Like the mutually assured destruction. The domino accords. An agreement to let everything fall down. It's kind of a concept EP. There's definitely a storyline in there with characters and antagonists and love interests and stuff like that. If you can kind of piece it together through the lyrics, but the full thing needs to come out before that. Yeah.
Nice. I love those, man. I remember, like, back as a kid, like, sitting down in front of the record player, having the headphones on and just going on whatever journey it took you on from, front to back. In this day and age of streaming and singles, it kind of takes that away,
Yeah.
So I love when people do concept albums and bring those back,
Yeah. The whole streaming thing. I mean, I have a lot to say about that, but we're all kind of sucked into the same game, especially if you're an independent artist like I am, like just trying to, come up. We don't like the game we play, but it's the only board we have, but yeah, I do my best to. I've always loved concept albums, like they're my favorite thing. Even if I don't really pay attention to the story too much, it's just there's a natural flow to it. The story of the sounds, the story of the sonic, landscape kind of thing. And I just, I'm a huge fan of Pink Floyd, big fan of King Crimson, like the classics kind of thing. So I wish more people did that nowadays, or at least tried to. You know, not
Yeah.
every song is about sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Yeah, I agree. No, I'm with you on that. I hope this it's like creativity, you know, because of all the shortened attention spans. You know, creativity is taking a hit. You know, big time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if creativity, because I'm really fortunate to be surrounded by some amazing musicians. I can't even throw a rock here, you know, without without hitting a insanely talented musician in this community of mine. I'm not sure if creativity has gone a hit, but attention spans for sure. And
Yeah.
there was a time when, you know, music, not when I was alive, probably, but there was a time when music wasn't a commodity. You know, a song wasn't a product. And it seems to be moving in that direction more and more, where a song is just a product. It's like a meal that you can just pick off the shelf, eat it, and then, you know, shit it out basically, and never think about it again. And that's it's a shame. I think I hope there's a bubble, and I hope it bursts, and I hope I'm around to see it. You know,
I'm with you on that, man. So it drops what, June 26th?
That's the plan if I finish it.
Nice. Oh, so it's still being completed, still being
Yeah.
all right.
I mean, I record everything here, mix, produce it, mix, master it myself, and it's nice to be able to put so much of myself into every part of the process. But man, it can be a total nightmare. You know, it takes a while. You drive yourself crazy. But yeah.
So is this Parasol Studios?
Yep. This is Parasol Studios LLC in partnership with S1 Brooklyn, which is kind of the main people behind it. The Parasol Studio side is kind of just my side, specialize in more live instrumentation recording and rock indie stuff. We've had like Latin bands in here. I did like a reggaeton track for somebody the other day, which was outside my wheelhouse for sure, but it was fun. The studio's been around for a while. I think there's been some pretty big names in here. No example.
Nice. Yeah. And what was I'm always curious about names. How did the name for the studio come together?
Parasol. Man, you're asking me to remember a lot. I think Parasol was just. I think I wanted to go with like Umbrella Studios because I want this space to be kind of a one-stop shop for people. You know, you can come here to record, you can come here to mix, master, you know, throw it on tape. You can, you know, help with promotion or help with, you know, album covers and stuff like that. So I wanted it to be like a one-stop shop. But there's already an Umbrella recording studios in New York, apparently. So I just chose another word for the name Umbrella, Parasol. And I liked how it sounded. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Well, Dan, before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions that I normally ask my guests on here. You know, we talked about some of the early influences you had musically, but who are the top 3 artists that you're listening to today?
That's a good question. I discover a lot of stuff through radio. So it's a bit of a tricky answer. I mean, I'll just like list a few names. Post Animal, I really enjoy. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards. I've been a fan of them since college. Never even seen a show of theirs, which is crazy. I need to go do that one day. And my main go-to always is just really any of David Bowie's stuff. I love his music, and more than that, I love the way he thought about music and the way he thought about art. I also really love Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Been listening to a lot of him lately. Yeah, he's a pretty big influence. Yeah. But I
Nice.
always say I'm a musician who doesn't know musicians. Like you could name a song that most people on the face of the planet know, and I'll just be like, no idea. I don't know why. It's just yeah.
Gotcha. And then, what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
Say that again.
What class should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
It has to be a real class.
No, you can make.
Oh,
one up
okay.
and
All right.
get benefit
Okay.
from.
Yeah. Today, in today's high school environment, man, I don't know, because it seems like something where they probably have to put their phones in a basket and walk outside. Maybe that's like gardening or something like that. Or if somebody is using their phones, they have to use it as a spade. I think the more you put your phone down and see the people around you, the more community is formed, and the more you get connected with life, which is the most important thing really in any profession, whatever you grow up to be. Because like this thing, it's not life. Life is not in here. It's a cheap imitation, and I'm guilty of using it probably too much. But yeah, gardening.
No, I'm with you there. Getting your hands back into nature, back into Mother Earth, like that could be considered source, I guess, too, sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Shamans can be musicians as well. Shamans as artists. Hodorovsky, right? He has a whole book about the magic of artistry and shamanism. It's all part of the same thing, in my opinion. Yeah.
And then, who are 3 people who've inspired you, or you can credit for making you the person you are today?
That's good. I want to say I'll probably just go back to family. Family, also my girlfriend. I think I've become a much better person since I met her, and pushing me towards living the life that I want to live, and I want to live with the important people in my life. I'll say cousin Liam, my parents, and my girlfriend. Pretty cliche answer, but keeping it close to home.
Yeah, I mean, that's your truth. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about being hands-on and things that kind of kept you connected in a way. Do you recall what your favorite toy as a child was?
Legos, for sure. Yeah, I would always just build tons and tons of Legos. I think that was the main thing, which might have been an indication of the path I was always going down. Engineering. Now I'm audio engineering and also making stuff. I like building big things out of small pieces.
Nice. Say that. And then any message that you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Currently serving overseas. I'm not sure if I have any right to say anything. Stay safe and protect your mental health. It's important. Look out for your brothers. Look out for your sisters, and may God watch over you.
Awesome, Dan. I appreciate the time, man. It was good talking to you and getting to know you more. Now, for people that are might be new hearing about you and want to support you, where would you send them?
You could listen to just look up the music, any of the major streaming platforms. I also have an ongoing email list if you want to get updates from me personally. So DM me on Instagram and I can throw your email in a big thing, and I'll sometimes I'll send out writings or Substacks and just little updates about life. I'm trying to do that more, so that's a good place to do it. And come to the shows.
Nice.
Support.
Any tour plans with this project when it gets released?
Not yet. Hoping to work on it, but we're just sticking local in New York for now, trying to, maybe make our way up and down the East Coast. But no tour plans yet. I did so much touring this past year with Sid Simons. I kind of need a break, honestly. It's a lifestyle for sure. Yeah.
Well, once again, Dan, thank you for the time, man. It was good talking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, man. Hope the rest of your day is great, and thanks for having me on.
All right, take care.
Yeah. See you, man.
All right! Listen up! Hold on to your seats. Grab your girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, SO1 Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.